So, hi everyone, this is Orgo Helper again, and in this video, we're gonna go through branch hydrocarbons nomenclature. First of all, we're gonna remember that the branch hydrocarbons we're gonna talk about today are gonna be alkanes, alkenes, and alkynes. And as we already talked about in last video, the main difference between those are that alkanes have single bonds and their suffix are gonna be ane. In the case of alkenes, they have double bonds and their suffix is "-ine". And in the case of alkynes, they have triple bonds in their main carbon chain and they're gonna have the suffix "-ine". So the steps we're gonna follow to name any branch hydrocarbon are gonna be: first, identify the longest carbon chain. But we gotta remember that in the case of alkenes and alkynes, the main carbon chain also has to contain the double and triple bonds in any functional groups. So the first step is going to be identify the longest carbon chain or the parent chain. The second one is going to be number the carbon chain and getting the lowest number for each substituent that we're going to go through later. And the third step is going to be identify the substituents. So it is actually too important to remember. Let me just write this down really fast. So it's going to be important to remember all these prefixes, because those prefixes are going to depend on the number of carbons that the main chain it's going to have. And the suffix is going to change depending of if it is in an alkane, an alkene, or in an alkyne. And for the substituents, we're gonna have the same prefix that we have on the table number 1, but with the suffix YL. An example is gonna be methyl. That looks actually like this and has just one carbon. So guys, after that bit of an introduction, we're gonna go through a pretty simple example just to see how this nomenclature works. We're gonna fill all its carbons with their 4 simple bonds. So okay, we know that this one is a carbon chain that contains 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We should go ahead and name it from left to right and also from right to left. So let's do it the other way around with other colors so we can distinguish the difference. Okay, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what will be the name of this compound? In any other way, it's gonna be the same chain, so we don't care about that, but we will eventually. As we have our table here, we can take it and paste it right here. We can see that the name for a carbon chain that has 5 carbons, it's gonna be pent. So if we put pent, and as we already can see, these carbon structure has no double bonds or triple bonds, so it has just single bonds, so it's gonna be an alkane. So we have the suffix "ane", so the UPAC number for this compound it's gonna be pentane. But what if that exact same compound has a double bond between 2 of its carbons, as we can see right here? Well, we're gonna have to name it a little bit different. It's gonna actually be, we're gonna have to start counting the actually, we can go ahead and erase the hydrogens for this compound to just focus on the important part, that is this one, the carbon chain. So we can go ahead and start naming it from left to right for 5, and also we can name it from right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So which is the one that we're gonna choose, green or orange? We should probably stick with the green, right? Why? Because in the case of the green, the double bond is in the carbon between the carbon number 2 and 3. So which number is lower, the 4 or the 4 or the 2? Well, obviously the 2, right? That's why we should go with the green one, right? So let's erase this one really quick. Now, how are we going to name the compound? Well, we're going to put the same prefix pent, but in this case, we're going to put pent, a line. We're going to put the number in which the double bond is, the number of the carbon. So it's going to be 2, right? We're going to put pent, line 2, line in. Why in? Because this one, as we talked about, is the suffix that stands for Alkenes. So it's going to be, this one's going to be the UPEG name for these compounds. And what if we have a compound that actually has a triple bond? What are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna put the exact same pent. We're gonna put the number of where it is 2, and we're gonna put ein since this one stands for Alkynes. So now, starting on the matter of actually naming branch hydrocarbons, we're going to take our set of rules. That is right here. Let's do it. So, step number 1, we're going to identify the longest carbon chain. Actually, we can go ahead and erase this type of a structure, and we're going to replace it with a linear structure that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons, and a substituent right here. So we can understand better where we have these linear structures. So first, identify the longest carbon chain. I see as you that the longest carbon chain is probably gonna be in this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But it could be also 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It does not matter, right? Because any of its way, it's going to be the same number of the chain. So we already have identified the longest carbon chain. We know that it's going to be pent, right? And as it's an alkane, and it has just single bonds, we're going to put pentane, right? So we have pentane. Now, the next step has number the carbon chain having the lowest number for each substituent. So how are we going to do that? We're going to start as we did before: 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and 5. And if we do it the other way around, because we already have left to right, we can do it the other way. We always have to do it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to notice that here it's our substituent, and it's going to differ from the fact that, and if we count right to left, it's going to be in the 2, and if we count left to right, it's going to be 4. We should always stick with the 2, right? So we will stick with the 2. We know that our substituent is going to be this one. And the third step, it says identify the substituents. We already have identified it, so we're going to say that it is what? We're going to check our table really fast. It says that the name, the prefix for a 2-carbon chain, it's going to be 1. So we're going to have meth. It's going to be meth, right? Meth. And YL, because this is the suffix for substituent. So we're going to end up with the substituent methyl in the number 2. At the end, if we name, let me cut this one. If we name this compound, we're going to end up with the name number, substituent, carbon chain, right? It's going to be number, line substituent, line carbon chain, main carbon chain. So we're going to put at the end, we're going to end up with, if we erase that off, we're going to end with the number 2, line methyl, line pentane. So this compound is going to be a 2-methyl pentane. So sorry guys, in the editing of this video I realized that actually there was an error because this line isn't supposed to be there. It shouldn't be a line between the substituents and the name of the main carbon chain. So at the end it would be just 2-methyl pentane. And actually, there shouldn't be any spaces rather than the lines between substituents and its numbers, and it shouldn't be any capitalized letters in the names, as UPEC says. Now, going through a more complex example, we're gonna see. We're gonna have first to identify our first carbon chain. We can start saying, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's not definitely gonna be it. So we also can say maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That could be one way of naming it. And we can also say maybe even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. However, if we look closely to it with purple color, actually we're gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's gonna be right. That's gonna be the longest carbon chain. So staying with that, we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what's gonna be our name? It's gonna be eptane, right? Now, the next step is going to be getting the lowest number of the substituents, right? So we actually have to know that. Let's see if we do the other way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're gonna have here an ethyl group in the 4, and we're gonna have here a methyl group in the 5. So is it gonna be 4 and 5, or is it gonna be, let me change the color, 3 and 4? It's gonna be actually 3 and 4, right? So the way we should start naming it's gonna be 3 and 4. So we're gonna stick with a purple. It is important to remember that we always have to we always have to name the substituents in alphabetical order. So if we do that, we're gonna have 3A3. Sorry, this is not the color I want. It's gonna be 3 methyl and a 4 a ethyl. And at the end, we should stick by first naming the E, the ethyl, because it has the lower letter, and then the M, right? So if we erase all these, we're gonna end with the name 3-methyl. I'm sorry. 4-ethyl, because it is the lowest alphabetical number. 3-methyl eptane. Now we have this other example that actually has a double bond. So we already know that it's gonna in the main carbon chain, it's gonna end in, right? Because it is an alkene. First step, finding the longest carbon chain. So as it has a double bond, we have to remember that the double bond have the biggest and the most important priority in all the naming. So we should always start by putting 1 here, because if we put the 1 here, the carbon, it's gonna be the double bond is gonna be at the end, and that's not gonna be right. So if we put 1, we can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But we have to remember that in any of those ways, it's gonna be the same thing, because the substituent is gonna be in the 4. So we're gonna stick with this one. we're just gonna stick with this one. The next is gonna be identifying our substituents. So if we, let's say with green, we have here a methyl and an ethyl, we're gonna have 2-methyl and 4-ethyl, 4-ethyl, and so on. We're gonna also have to put that our double bond, it's gonna be a 2 in, and sorry, that was gonna be a, this one right here was gonna be a hexene, since it has 6 carbons. At the end, all this will give us a carbon, a name that's gonna be obviously 4-ethyl. It's gonna be 4-ethyl since it's gonna be 4-ethyl since it has the E that's that has a bigger priority than the M. No. It's gonna be 4-ethyl because of its alphabetical order. So 4-ethyl, 2-methyl, and this is important because we're gonna have X / 2, sorry, 1 in. This one was also my bad because this one was bad since the double bond is on the 1. So this is going to be the number of the name of at the end. So guys, always remember that you should name the longest carbon chain. You always have to keep looking for it. It's important that you have your lowest substitution numbers in your name. So guys, that's gonna be it for today. I hope it was useful, and remember, if you have any questions or comments, just drop it on the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and see you with Orgo Helper in the next time.